As relations improve, Israeli officials go to Saudi Arabia. Several prominent Israeli officials have visited Saudi Arabia in recent years, including Defense Minister Benny Gantz and the last two chiefs of Mossad, Israel Hayom reported Sunday. As IDF Chief of Staff from 2012 to 2016, Gantz visited Saudi Arabia. Yossi Cohen and Tamir Pardo visited Saudi Arabia. Gantz met with Jake Sullivan and Lloyd Austin in Washington this month. Sullivan and Austin met with Saudi Deputy Defense Minister Khalid bin Salman the day before. The timing of these meetings led to rumors that Israel was collaborating with the US and Saudi Arabia against Iran. Israel's connections with Saudi Arabia have gained global attention in recent weeks ahead of a likely visit by US Vice President Joe Biden, who will also visit Jerusalem in late June. The US covertly brokers discussions between Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Egypt over two Red Sea islets. The US is exploring an agreement combining Tiran and Sanafi on the Gulf of Aqaba, also known as the Strait of Tehran, that may cut oil costs in the US and normalize relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Egypt has agreed to transfer the islands to Saudi Arabia, but Jerusalem and Washington must approve. Israel conquered the islands from Egypt in 1967. In return for a US-backed multinational peacekeeping mission, Israel handed them to Egypt in 1979. Saudi Arabia has refused to establish diplomatic relations with Israel unless Palestinians are treated fairly. Saudi Arabia said Egypt has protected the islands since 1950 at its request. Egypt's Supreme Court accepted a treaty ceding the islands to Saudi Arabia in 2018, amid popular outcry. The transfer was awaiting an agreement on the fate of a multinational group of observers who guaranteed unrestricted sailing at the strait. Saudi Arabia wants to abolish the multinational force but vowed to maintain it demilitarized and guarantee free navigation. Israel demanded alternate security arrangements, according to Walla. Israel urged Saudi Arabia to cut flights to India, Thailand, and China. It wants Saudi Arabia to enable direct flights to Mecca for pilgrims. Israel signed the Abraham Accords in 2020 with UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan. Saudi officials have indicated the kingdom remains committed to the Arab Peace Initiative, which conditions recognizing Israel on an independent Palestinian state inside the 1967 boundaries. MBS met covertly with Netanyahu in November 2020, according to Israeli media sources. Normalization treaties between Arab governments and Israel, praised by former President Donald Trump and his associates, did not solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem, and none of the normalizing Arab countries had ever been at war with Israel. Dozens of Israeli IT entrepreneurs and executives recently flew to Saudi Arabia for investment negotiations, according to the Globe's business newspaper. Riyadh is reported to have granted Bahrain, where it maintains crucial influence, the go-ahead to join the normalization deal with Israel with the UAE, Morocco, and Sudan. Saudi Arabia allowed Israeli airlines to utilize its airspace for flights to and from the UAE and Bahrain after the agreements were signed. Israel's flights to India, Thailand, and China are longer than necessary because of this. Recent Saudi visitors used Israeli passports with special visas.